My work as an exorcist actually started even before I became a monk. It started in 1969, so 5 years after my ordination to the priesthood. Before Vatican II, there were steps leading towards the priesthood. The first step was the tonsure. So there was a tonsure here, although it was called the first tonsure, but there never was a second tonsure. And then after that followed the so-called minor orders, the order of porter, the order of exorcists, the order of lectors, and the order of acolytes. We had to go through all this. Then following them would be the subdiaconate, and then the diaconate, and finally the priesthood. Actually, I was promoted to the order of exorcists, but I never did an exorcism then. It was only in 1969 when I had my first exorcism. Actually, I was at a loss at that time what to do, because although it was taught very briefly in the seminary, we were never taught how to go about it. And so the requests for exorcisms have been coming every now and then. But eventually I had to make discernments, because not all those who come for the so-called exorcism are not really possessed by the devil. So I came with what I call the counterfeits. But in my experience, for all these years, there are signs, unmistakable signs, that a person has been possessed by the devil or by his cohorts, the demons. The first sign is total unconsciousness. Even if you undress the person, whatever you do to the person is totally unconscious. So that's what I usually ask people when they bring their patients to me. But maybe now the patient is awake, and then afterwards will be getting into a kind of unconsciousness, but the unconsciousness is total and it is continuous. Of course, followed by extraordinary strength. So, total unconsciousness and extraordinary strength. And then the possessed person begins to do things which would be beyond the capabilities of the person. Like the lady I exorcised in 1969, she was chanting a psalm in Latin, and that psalm was the psalm that was being chanted during the Holy Week in what Vatican I called the Tenebrae, Tinieblas, and she was singing that in Latin. The chanting of this possessed lady was recorded, and so the tape was brought to a Latin professor at the Immaculate Conception Major Seminary, and the professor said, "Oh, this devil has many mistakes in the grammar and in the pronunciation. If this devil were under my Latin class, I would give him a failing grade." But it was Latin, so things like those. The possessed does things beyond the capabilities, and then would even come to know events that happen in their community which not even the oldest people in the community know. Things like those. And then, aside from this, violence follows. So all this must be there all together. So you have total unconsciousness, extraordinary strength, possess, does things beyond his or her human capacities and capabilities. And then violence follows. And all this must be all together there. Otherwise, the experience might just be what I call a counterfeit. Or maybe the so-called possessed needs medical attention. And if the medical attention needed is in the realm of emotions and feelings, then the alleged possessed might need a psychiatrist. Otherwise, ordinary ailment would just call for the services of a medical doctor, or maybe the person is suffering from other forms of ailments. And one of the things I have discovered through the years is the counterfeit possession is the spirit of the dead. Sometimes they can hang around the person. And there is a lady I work with, a retired public school teacher, and this is her gift. And she can even describe, maybe she can see the face of the person while still alive, and then the hair, the dress, the food he or she loves to eat when still alive. And this is what she calls the poor souls. And when I ask her, what do you mean by they're around, they're watching this person? And she answered me, they're asking for prayers in order to be allowed to see God face to face. So those are some of the counterfeits. And so when people are brought to me, I spend an hour or so observing and discerning which is which. Is it really a diabolical possession or just a counterfeit? And this is important. By the way, I've written a pamphlet about maybe 42 pages. The title is Diabolical Possession or Counterfeits. They're available at the catechetical office, which is found at the Archbishop's residence in Vigan City. But of course, fighting the devil and his demons is not an easy thing. It needs a lot of prayer, sometimes a lot of fasting, but over and above all, it is a life centered on God and a life that continually grows in the state of sanctifying grace.
No.